Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Talented Universe. And I would like to first welcome my co-host, Jag. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to finally, virtually at least, meet our guest.
And you want to go ahead and
Yes, I would love to introduce Rachel Olschan, partner executive producer of Electric Entertainment.
Thank you. That was quite an intro, that music.
Yes.
It made me feel powerful.
Oh,
yes.
you are.
Yeah, my when I do the voice interviews and whatever, my co-host there, he's a musician and he actually wrote the music, and Jag put it together and did the video. So we all just keep it in-house. So
yeah, it's very nice. It pumps you up.
It does. It does.
And
we were very excited.
Let's just point out before we go forward, Michael is wearing his awesome Electric Entertainment t-shirt. So he's now, I guess, CEO in training.
I don't think I'd want the responsibility, I'll tell you.
Are you trying to take my job, Michael?
No.
No, not after you explained at ElectricCon what your job was. No.
You do it so well, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, speaking of that, I think Jag was probably going to ask. Jag, did you want to ask this question that I'm going to ask? I have a feeling.
Is it the one about what she does?
Yeah, so go ahead and you ask.
So if you can give us a background of what you actually do at Electric Entertainment for us.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want, I can also give a background, like how it all started, because it kind of makes more sense.
Okay, go ahead and do that. Yeah.
So everyone,
that was going to be my second question: how long and all that stuff. So you can.
Well, I'm
going to
start with the second question first. So everyone's got 3 to 4 hours for me to tell the story.
Sure, we're all eating lunch.
See. The next show is at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
So we got time.
And I just want to say to everyone who's commenting, I see you, Tiffany, Marsha, Cornelia, the Alcoholics. I can't comment back because I can't.
Yes, but you'll be verbally when we throw the things up.
I see you all. So I've been working with Dean Devlin for almost 30 years. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I'll try to condense my story. Grew up in Connecticut, went to college in Connecticut. I always knew I wanted to work in Hollywood, movies or TV. I didn't know, but ever since I was a little kid, I knew I was going to eventually make my way out to Hollywood. I moved out here. I graduated from college, and like 3 years later, I moved to Los Angeles. I was 24 years old. It was 1996. And my best friend had moved out, so I had a place to stay, and I was, hitting the pavement looking for a job. I got my first job as an assistant at Creative Artist Agency, one of the big talent agencies out here. After that, you just start networking. And through networking, I got a job working for Christine Peters, who's a producer. She ran Robert Evans' production company on the Paramount lot, which was really exciting. Bob Evans, he's no longer with us, but amazing person to work for. Christine was awesome. And then I found out Dean Devlin was looking for a second assistant, because back in that time, it wasn't unheard of for these producers to have 2, sometimes 3 assistants. And I knew his work, Stargate, Independence Day, because I think Independence Day came out in 96. So at this point, it's 97 when I'm interviewing for the second assistant position. And I interviewed with the first assistant. I interviewed with one of the vice presidents, and then I finally got my interview with Dean directly, and I got the gig. And so that was 1997, September 29th, 1997, to be exact. And so I was the second assistant, and then eventually I was the only assistant because the first assistant moved on. And being Dean's assistant really was producing his life in a sense. So he's the kind of boss, when there's a lot of people that you could assist and not learn anything, but Dean he looks at his assistant like a right-hand person. So I read everything that came across the desk. I listened in on the calls. I was in the meetings. I made sure that I knew what was going on in every facet of his life and his personal life too, so that he could just rely on me for everything. And managing the schedule and the phone calls. And back in those days, rolling calls was it's like that doesn't even exist anymore, right?
No.
Because everyone's on their cell phones. But it was a different time. Like just the rolling of the phone calls and keeping the telephone call sheets for your bosses out in Hollywood, whether they're writers or directors, producers, studio executives, agents. That was like a huge part of the job, and keeping it straight and the schedule. And it really, Dean always said, like he said this in my interview. I say this in my interviews now when I'm interviewing for assistants or talking to young people that are coming up in the business and think they want to produce. Like the best job to get when you're starting out in Hollywood is an assistant position, whether it's for a studio executive, a producer, an agent. But because you're producing their life, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can't, that's a good way to dip your toe in and see if this kind of organization structure, being on top of everything, if that's what you like, then it kind of just keeps taking you to the next level, which is what happened with Dean. So I'm his assistant. I went on set for the first time, or away on location for the first time for Patriot with Dean and Roland, Mel Gibson. I mean, I had been on set in LA, like visiting, dropping things off for Dean, but I had never gone away on location. So I moved to South Carolina. It was 1999 at that point, and Dean took me with him as his assistant. And talk about baptism by fire. Like that's where you learn everything. That's also, if you don't love being on set, which some people don't, some people love it. But that's a good way to tell if this industry is for you or producing is for you, because you either love it or you hate it. It's not glamorous when you're on location and on set. It's long hours. It's early wake ups. Standing on your feet all day long. I mean, you're learning. It's amazing. It's education. It's film school. It's amazing. But it's like 6 months of 6-day weeks, 15-hour days, doing everything from fetching coffee, but also keeping up with the appointments, not just the schedule of the day of the production, but all the meetings Dean has to do in between and stuff. So it was a really exciting time, and it made me love it even more. And then I think we did 8-Legged Freaks after that, I think. And we went to Arizona. So like at that point, I'm his only assistant. I'm traveling with him. And then gradually, as an assistant, more and more jobs get placed on your workload that aren't just straightforward assistant jobs. They start becoming producing jobs. So once we got into the first Librarians movie, I think, and we had a very small, at that point, Dean had started Electric Entertainment in 2001. And it was just Dean, Mark Roskin, myself, and I think that was it. And maybe one other person, but it was a very small company. So I was still Dean's assistant, but I was doing producer work, like associate producer work, getting ready for the first Librarians movie for TNT with Noah Wyle. So it wasn't like one day Dean called me in his office and was like, poof, you're now an associate producer. It literally is like you're so busy with the work that I think it was like I deserved an associate producer on that movie. And then after that, I think is when I had a conversation with Dean, like, Dean, I need an assistant. Like, I can't be your assistant anymore and do this. So what we did, I think, is we got an assistant and shared that person. So I was still kind of like overseeing it, the transition. So it was a little bit of gradual transition away from being Dean's assistant, but I never looked at it as a bad thing. And I still take care of Dean, right? That's part of my job. That's part of all of our jobs. This is Electric Entertainment's his company. We're all taking care of him. We all are working on the shows together, making sure we make great shows for people and take care of the fans and all that. And, and I don't feel like really anything's changed, but obviously it has. It's been almost 30 years of doing work. But now leading to what your initial question was, like, so much of my day-to-day job now, and every day is different, right? Because when we're in production, there's a routine, a schedule of prep meetings for each scripts come out. Everyone has to read the scripts. There's prep meetings. I'm in all of the prep meetings, whether it's art department meeting, visual effects, the big production meeting where we're all together talking about everything. So when we're in a show, when we're shooting a show, there's a chunk of our schedules that is routine. It's the same meetings for every episode, the same kind of conversations, but it's the train leaves the station when we start shooting a TV show, and you are prepping an episode while you're shooting another episode. So all the departments, the art department, everybody, transpo, stunts, it's intense. And then everybody back at Electric Entertainment headquarters, it's the same thing, because legal plays a huge role on overseeing the shows and the clearances and the contracts coming in. And you only have a week to get everything done for the next episode. And so it gets very intense. But let's say we're not shooting, we're in post, and then Dean has an idea where he's like, let's do Electricon I made that joke when we were at Electricon, for those of you who were there, I know Michael was there. We're all doing our day-to-day jobs. And then all of a sudden, Dean will want to do like some event or participate in something. So you've got to pivot, right? And maintain your day-to-day. But then also, okay, let's take on this other, which is basically producing, right? Our involvement with Electricon was like producing it was creations event, but we were involved a lot. So it just felt like another production. And, you kind of overseeing that. So whatever gets thrown at you, but it's also a company. We've got quite a few employees here. We have a COO, we have, human resources, we have people taking care of the building, but I help oversee just the infrastructure also of just running a company, and however I can help out with that. There's a lot of other things. I'm involved in marketing and publicity for all of our shows, which also includes interacting with international to make sure they're getting all the materials to sell our shows foreign. So kind of overseeing that process. We work with companies like Amazon Prime and TNT and SYFY, and they have their own marketing and publicity departments. They're the ones that are actually designing the materials and creating them, but I'm helping get the approvals, helping them with some creative notes prior to them showing it to Dean, because I know what he's going to say, so just overseeing it. So I'm not making the key art, the posters that you all see, like the one behind Jag, but definitely overseeing that process with everyone, Dean and Mark Roskin, legal and all that. I help with clearances on our shows. I help with product integration. And I help oversee when we get into the casting process with the shows. I work really closely with Dean just to make sure that flow of information, especially when we're doing these international shows, right? We're shooting in Belgrade, Serbia a lot. And we have a casting director based in London. We have a casting director based in Belgrade. We have TNT executives back here in Los Angeles. And yes, there's emails and everyone's on the emails, but you'd be surprised how much stuff gets lost in translation or things are missed. So it's just staying on the process, paying attention to the schedule. The schedule is like, I have my bulletin boards back home at my office. It's like my whole office is just one big bulletin board. And I'm always looking at the schedule. And because Dean doesn't have time for that. He's writing, he's doing so much other stuff. So it's like, oh, we didn't hear back on that actor pick yet from TNT or Dean. And it's like just nudging and reminding. And so I guess I'm kind of like a mom.
Or a catch-all.
I'm a catch-all. I'm a mom. I'm, it's just all about communication, organization and communication. And I love that stuff. People make fun of me. Dean calls me Monica from Friends, but I take that as a compliment.
I was going to say, before I go to some of the questions in the chat room, just overall, did you have any idea that at the end of 2024, you would be where you are now, back in like the mid 90s?
No. And I have to say, it's not that I never thought about my future or I didn't have goals, but I really lucked out getting a job working for Dean as an assistant because of the kind of person he is and the kind of producer he is. He is involved in every single aspect of the process. So it was so much learning and also so much work. I never really had time for it. And it just started flowing. And there's good days and there's bad days. And there's times when we're in production on 3 shows at once and we feel like it's going to kill us all, because it's overwhelming just for everyone, not just for me, the emails, the meetings, and then forget trying to keep up with your personal life. It's, that's why this business, it's like, it's such an interesting business. And then obviously right now the business is in such strange times, right? With the platforms and everything changing, there's all of that to remember and try to keep track of while you're doing your job, while you're having a life. But I have to say, doing it in a company like Electric and with Dean, because it is like a family. We said that too at the convention. Like there was a bunch of us on the stage together, and we are really a family. Some of us have been working together for 30 years, So to go back to the question, Michael, I didn't know, I had no idea.
What was your major?
Communications, but I'll tell you my interesting story, because I like to, when I meet young people in college that are so stressed about choosing the major or making the wrong decision, it doesn't matter, because I went to the University of Connecticut. I knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I didn't know like producer. I just knew where I wanted to go, but there was no major at the University of Connecticut that matched what I wanted to do. And frankly, there was no one there guiding me. There was no one there helping me. And so I picked communications because it seemed to be the closest to what. Now, if I could go back and do it again, first of all, I might not go to college. Don't tell my mom I said that, but I couldn't wait to get out of college and just start working. But if I were to go back to college, I would have majored in history or English or business or something that it doesn't matter. Like, just get the college education. And unless you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, that kind of set thing, it doesn't really matter. I should have picked something that I could have had more fun with, the major.
Yeah, but apparently it worked well for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me go over the chat room with the people just saying hi to you. Arc54 says, Arcaholics in the house. Welcome, Rachel. We are excited you are here.
I love the Arcaholics.
And then Cornelia says, good evening from Germany. And big greetings from Electric Entertainment Fan World.
Yeah, I know you.
and then Marcia says, hi, Rachel. So happy to see you. The Arc Series fan group is on board.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcia.
And then
we're getting quite a few comments.
Oh yeah. Hey, beautiful Rachel, Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Tiffany.
This is Tiffany. Yes, we know that. Yeah,
I know Tiffany.
This is from Tortilla Jones. Just some
party hats.
I get something like that. Yeah.
Oh, we may have lost Michael there for a second, and unfortunately, he has control.
Well,
here he's back.
I didn't think I left now. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Arc54 says, congratulations to both of you, Dean and Electric, for a second year in a row Saturn Award nomination.
Yay.
Thank you. That's another. So we're very involved with the Saturn Awards because we broadcast it for Electric now. And we've always been, Dean has always been a supporter of the Saturns, the Academy of Motion Picture, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. And as his assistant, I got to know Dr. Donald Reed before he passed, and Robert Holguin and the people that run it. And so we've always kind of been very involved in the Saturns, but now we're really involved in the actual event itself, which is a production, right? So we're prepping a show right now, season 2 of The Librarians, the next chapter. And we're also, in a sense, producing a broadcast of the Saturns, which will be on February 2nd. So that's another it's not. And it's a lot of work. The whole Electric Entertainment staff, everybody's pitching in. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun, but a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. And then here's our first question. Presley asked, how do you think the industry has changed over the years, and how has that impacted your role at Electric Entertainment?
That's a really good question. And sorry if I get long-winded with this, because when I see questions like that, something pops in my mind. And I'm going to go back to 1999, 2000, The Patriot. And I know that's a feature film, and we do mostly TV now, or series. You can't call it TV, but that kind of answers the question a little bit. Definitely now we're more focused on series, right? That's like our bread and butter, and features are so difficult to raise the money for, and then distribution and all that. But I think back to when I was Dean's assistant on Patriot, and my experience in that. First of all, Dean and Roland they were on the Sony lot. We had a development fund. Roland decided he wanted to do Patriot. We attached Mel Gibson in 2 weeks. We had a green light. We were in prep. Everyone was flying to South Carolina. It was a huge production, really expensive. And then even the publicity international tour after it was all the assistants we're flying around the world with our bosses, the money that was spent back then. And it just all felt so easy. So that was my first real experience producing something. I mean, not me producing, but watching the producing of a movie unfold. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But of course it doesn't happen. That's the way it happened for Dean and Roland. They had done Independence Day and Godzilla and all that. And it's it never happened like that again. So there's the differences, Presley, too, the money that there was back in those days. It just seemed like it was easier to raise money to make movies or series. And then obviously now what we're all talking about is the landscape of the platforms and the landscape of everybody tightening their budgets, and how that's affecting us. So we're definitely, I think we've streamlined our systems. We really focus on, doing things more affordably, but not affecting what the fans are seeing, still producing quality content, great writing, great actors. But the secret sauce of Electric Entertainment with all the, visual effects people we work with, and the technology in our post-production facility, which actually I'm sitting in right now, and the people we work with over in Belgrade,
have advice for assistants trying to find their place in the industry.
I mean, that's such a broad question.
Yes.
But my advice, depending on if this person is happy where they are, and one of my biggest pieces of advice is like, I didn't get my first associate producer credit until I was 7 years in with Dean as his assistant. But I never was looking at the clock or the calendar because there was just so much work to do and everything. It was happening. It was just, I think some people get obsessed with like a timeline of, I have to be at a certain place by the time I'm 28 or 32 or 34. And I it's okay to have goals. I think it's okay to like have those conversations and your dream boards and like, I hope I have an Academy Award by the time I'm 50 or whatever. But like, I think 50 is a more realistic age than 32, and don't worry about the timeline. Worry about like where you are. And yes, you want to be happy where you work, but it's not going to be, sunshine and roses at work every day. You're going to have bad days and good days. So just make sure you're in a place where you're learning and you're getting to do stuff, and don't be afraid to speak up to like ask for more. Where I worked with someone where it was kind of just happening anyway, but like sometimes you have an executive you work for, or if you're working for a writer or producer or whatever, it's like they're not even thinking about, oh, you could handle this. So like get in there and just do it, read the scripts and do the coverage and whatever it takes. Pitch an idea.
There you go. And this is the last one before I'm going to go back to Jag. Do you think it's easier to make movies, TV shows now compared to 10, 20 years ago?
Hi, Daniel. It's a very good question. And I would say, God, it's just changed so much. And I would say it's, in my personal experience, it's much more difficult to make movies now, because it's not so much about making the movie, although I'm going to contradict myself as I go on another tangent. It's difficult because to get the funding and the distribution, to get the movie seen and all that, I think is much more difficult, because I'm not going to say movies are dead, but you know what I mean? The theatrical releases of movies has definitely changed. It's not the way it used to be in the 80s or 90s or whatever. But in some ways, Daniel, it's easier because anyone can just pick up their phone and shoot something and cut something and do your social media or create your YouTube page and just do it for the sake of doing it, and your friends and family seeing it. And you never know, like building your own portfolio with creatively creating, like if that's your thing, being a creator, like a director and a filmmaker, it's easier in some ways because the tools are so accessible, right? And you might create something amazing on your iPhone and cut it and it impresses everyone. It doesn't mean you're going to get a theatrical release or attached as a director on your next project. But in those ways, it's easier to make it. But I also think it's more difficult. TV, again, it's not TV anymore, right? It's series. It's limited series. And I know some people don't want to hear it called content. I know Dean doesn't like it. I don't think there's anything wrong calling our shows content, because it isn't TV necessarily. It's on a platform. It's on an AVOD. It's on an SVOD. It's on YouTube, whatever. It is content. It's not a negative connotation. There's more channels. There's more platforms. So in some ways it's easier, but the budgets are shrinking, right? So that makes it more difficult. But you just have to use your experience and imagination, like, okay, well then how can we do this with this less budget?
That is true. Jag, I know you've got something.
Oh no, I don't. I think no. So you've painted such a vast landscape of your responsibilities so far. How much of that is exponentiated when you have to deal with a project in Serbia, for example?
It's a lot. So even just the basic time zone differences. And I'm based on the East Coast. So we've got home office, Electric Entertainment, Los Angeles.
Right.
I'm like, I actually think it's good that I am on the East Coast because I'm closer to Serbia. So I'm up a little bit earlier, if something, whatever I could help with a couple hours earlier, which, you'd be surprised if it's a clearance issue that they're shooting that day or the next day, a couple hours makes the difference. But scheduling of the meetings, that complicates things. Getting in touch with Dean, who's on set in Serbia, finding those moments of time where you can catch up with him on all the non-production related stuff, or Mark Roskin or whoever else is over there, Mark Franco, because you could be shooting one show, but you're still delivering another one. And so there's a lot of stuff so it does make the communication more difficult. Yeah.
And how do you do it? Through email?
Email, Zoom calls, just like
Right.
everyone else. It was one year we were shooting in the Philippines, in Belgrade, and in New Orleans. And I don't know if they all overlapped, but that was an insane year. I mean, there were no days off because of the time difference with the Philippines. So everyone was working weekends, and we were doing Zoom calls at 11 o'clock at night in Connecticut. Like, it was just crazy. It almost killed us, but it didn't.
And I'm sure COVID didn't help either.
COVID, talk about, I mean, God, when you think back to that time, but we were one of the first, if not the first series back in production in 2020, because we started, like, Dean wouldn't take no for an answer. We were doing Leverage Redemption season 1 with, at that time it was Amazon Freevee. And we didn't want to halt prep or anything because we were afraid no one knew how long this was going to go on, right?
Yeah.
So Dean's like, no, we're going to put protocols in place. So we're working with so many producers from around the world and the unions. Like, we were kind of coming up with our own protocols based on what the unions were working on, but it wasn't an official product, the packet that came out that we all had to sign off on. And as long as we just said we would stick to what the union said we had to do, whether it was pay people for sick leave or whatever, like, nobody knew anything about COVID yet, but we just created these protocols. We kept everyone safe. And we shot during 2020, the summer of 2020 in New Orleans. And again, that almost killed us, but it didn't. And I don't mean it almost killed us because of COVID. I meant just the stress of it, on all of us, the actors, the crew, the crew's families. Yeah. It was an insane time. It's so weird to think back to that time, right?
Yeah, but we all persevered. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
Michael, I think we have quite a few questions out there.
We do. And I think I know the answer to this question from Emma B, but I'm going to let Rachel go ahead and answer this one. Hi, Rachel. What is your favorite show you've worked on at Electric?
Okay, well, I mean, I have my favorite shows, but I have to say, original Leverage when we were up in Portland, and original Librarians. And we also worked on a couple pilots up there that never made it, because that's where I met my husband.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, my husband was an electrician on set of our shows. Like, we had been working together for 4 years without even talking to each other, because he'll always say he's a grunt. But it's the guy, and I say guys, I'm not trying to be sexist, but all the electricians and all the grips at that time on original Leverage were guys. But, like, they're working. Like, you're not, you're passing, hey, you see whatever, but, like, you're not really getting to know them. But we got to know each other. And so I and my husband and I actually talk about this now. There was a really special time during that where we were married. We hadn't had our daughter yet. And we would be based in LA, but we would drive up to Portland, Oregon together for the season, move into an apartment, work on the shows together and the pilots. And, he was doing his thing, I'm doing mine, but, living together and working together. and not having to worry about like pulling your kid out of school in order to travel on location, which now I don't travel to location anymore for the whole shoot because I have a 8-year-old,
Yeah.
and you can't do it anymore. So we talk about it a lot, that, and my husband even talks about it. He's like, God, I'm not sure we appreciated what we had for that moment in time. It was a couple of seasons. And then I got pregnant while we were shooting, which was kind of nice because it was like we're such a family with the cast and crew, and but then that changes. So like now what I do and how much I travel, it's changed, but that's okay. Like I'm okay with that. But that probably I would, for personal reasons, those were the favorite shows to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And Patriot, although that's not electric, but that Patriot experience at the beginning of my career with Dean was just amazing. Like I can't even describe how amazing it was.
Yeah, and this is from Marcia, and I totally agree with this. What are some ways fans can help in support of getting a third season for the arc?
You know what? I would have to say, because of course that's a no-brainer for us. We want a third season. It's being discussed. We feel good about it. Any way to get in touch with SYFY, it's all about SYFY. So there's social media handles, fans post on there, hashtag them, like go on whatever SYFY that you can get in touch with, and post and everything, bombard them. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully they won't get annoyed. Don't tell them I told you to do it.
No one will say that. No. And Cornelia asked, will there be a season 3 of Almost Paradise? Or
I don't know. There absolutely could be. Like it's not scheduled yet, but as you all know, as fans of Dean Devlin shows, even when they go away for a little while, they can pop up again. Mm-hmm. And it's always being discussed. Like we would love to do another season. And maybe it doesn't look exactly the same, but it's a possibility. It's always a possibility.
And this is the last one I'm going to do. Then I'm going to go back to Jag. Kake Jeller says, what was the most important lesson you learned early on and still use today for building relationships with clients and encouraging them to work with you on future projects?
Kindness. I hope that's what people feel about me. I love talking to people. I love building relationships. I feel that it's natural for me. And that I should have said that too. That's a big part of my position at Electric, is building those relationships with the executives over at Amazon or TNT or SYFY, whether it's marketing, publicity, some of the creatives, some of the post-production people. I just like to get to know everybody. I like to have fun with them because it's good for them too. They like working with Electric. If they're even on the Zoom calls, if you're all kind and having fun, you're getting the work done, but you're cracking some jokes, you're grab a coffee every once in a while. It doesn't take that much. It's just, be nice, be kind. And yeah, I think it's pretty simple. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, well, I will say, with me being able to work with you at the beginning when we were trying to get things going full steam.
Even when the answer was no to you, Michael, for, because of scheduling, or actually at first because I was being so shy, but also scheduling, I was still nice about it, right?
Oh, absolutely you were. You were very nice. Yeah, Jag and I have some other things that we've gotten from some people that we just laugh at their emails that, turning us down for things. And it's
they were nice.
They were nice, but it's like, really? But we won't go into that. But so Marcia needs to know about something that's been going around for Thanksgiving, and she wants to know the truth. She wants to know, is Dean's after Thanksgiving turkey hash really that good?
You know what? I can't remember if I've actually had it because like I'm trying to think back. He must have brought it to the office when I still lived in LA. Like I feel like I must have. I've certainly seen pictures of it and it looks amazing. So I'm going to say yes. And I actually do the same thing now. There's no recipe. I think just from the basic, what Dean says is just the turkey, the stuffing, like whatever else he's throwing. I kind of do my own thing, and that I enjoy that more than the actual Thanksgiving dinner. So he's inspired me.
Well, I'm sure it's just whatever's left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jag, go ahead. Yeah.
Before I ask the other question, I want to ask you, you have so many hats that which is your favorite? Do you like producing? Do you like keeping up with Dean's schedule? Do you like to, check out the key art?
Yeah, that stuff is fun, working with actors and stuff. But I think it's just the relationships in general. Because it doesn't matter like what the conversation's about or the meeting, right? Like if the meeting's about the Saturns or Electricon or a prep meeting for the art department or a boring meeting about clearances, if you're in the trenches with people inside the company or the outside people from the different networks and platforms that we were like, if you're having fun and that makes it okay. And like, even though because I know like there's so many of us here like that deal with stuff like clearances and frankly it's a lot and it's annoying and frustrating and but we can joke about it and still manage to keep our sanity and have a good time. So I think, and that's not really a hat, right? It's not a relationship hat, but I would say that's my favorite part of the job. But there are so many little things, like you just said, like I get to see the trailers and the key art even before Dean, because like it's coming through me and, it's great. And also like there's fun side stuff that happens, like, being on location is hard, but like it's those special moments where you have a dinner and it's like Dean and a couple of the actors and some of the crew and like the camaraderie that comes out of it, which is still relationships, right? That's what it all comes down to.
The memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other question is, so was Electricon your first convention?
No.
Okay.
The first convention I ever did, it almost killed me, but it didn't. Do you see a theme here?
Yes.
So back with original Leverage, when we were shooting in Portland, Oregon, Dean came to me with one of his crazy ideas and said, Rachel, let's do a fan convention. I said, Dean, we don't know how to do fan conventions. That's like a business. He's like, we can figure it out. And we did a fan convention for about 300 to 350 people from all over the world. And maybe some of you are even on here now. We did it without a creation or any GalaxyCon or any of the other. It was just us. And we pulled it off. All the actors got involved. We had crew. We had great panels. We worked with the Governor Hotel, which is called something else now, but we took over the hotel, not just for the attendees, but the ballroom. We had a party. We had the photo and autograph sessions and like figured out the printing and the charging and all that. It was crazy. And we did it on our own. But it, like I said, it was really stressful because we were producing the show at the same time. And, but looking back, like I know the fans had a great time and it was successful. So that was good.
So just to follow up, to compare that to the Electricon, what were your experiences there?
It was amazing. It was very heartfelt and emotional. We had so much of our staff there from Electric Entertainment. There were so many people working on what our side of it that, we created the content that ran through the panels. We were doing that Electric Now with Lucas. We were doing interviews and stuff. So there's a lot of Electric Entertainment people there. Maybe some of them had never been to something like that before, but I think all of us, including Dean, were just so taken aback in a good way of the love and support and emotion that we got from all the fans. It was beautiful. It was a very emotional weekend. That's
I'm
what I
gonna
would say.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that when you do a TV show or when you do a movie or when you do a convention, when you see the reactions that you see from the fans, I think that's probably some of that payback from the stuff that almost killed you. I'm gonna go on the limb and say that.
That's probably why I keep doing it, right? It's like a drug.
That dopamine thing,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
All right, Michael.
Yeah.
Oh, your screen.
I know.
That's
I
pretty
was
cute.
gonna say, your screen went interesting. So
The arc went hyperspace.
well,
That's my head exploding.
yeah, because you're thinking about conventions and
So many things. Yeah.
and everything. But anyway, what at Electricon? What was your favorite?
Nick is coming in to fix the screen.
There you go.
I told you guys not to be online while I was doing this.
But they were probably watching the show, then they knew that it happened. So
I know they did. They were watching.
There you go. So, and they're not asking questions. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think they are. Some of them are.
But anyway, what was your favorite? Do you have a favorite moment or event at Electricon, or was it just a lot of general? Because I mean, I will tell people that weren't there. You were out in the hallway signing autographs and talking to the fans, which I was very fortunate to be able to talk to you for a while. Which
that was fun. Like I had never done anything like that before, and you know, it's like that's so much fun. And so signing the autographs, taking the pictures with people. Oh my God, my computer is telling me I've got security updates. Sorry.
Okay, don't click it.
Don't do
no,
it.
I won't. It's just telling me it's going to happen tonight. So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
You know, I guess that whole interaction, I feel like, because I know so many of the fans from, you know, Instagram and, you know, from all the years we've, you know, all been together. So it felt like it was just you were with a group of people that you already knew, you know,
Right.
and so that was nice. So not just the autographs and the photos, but just you're in the hallway and you're just like, hey, how you doing? And but I thought all the panels were great. I have to say that for as long as I've been doing this and as much as I know, and I'm behind the scenes, I love listening to our actors and crew tell their stories, whether it's Dean, or, you know, Callum or whoever, and also on our after shows, you know, all of the after shows we do, I watch all of them and I'm like, oh, I love that. And I love listening to the writers, and because I learned something, even though I'm in it, I'm still learning stuff every time I hear, you know? So I loved all the panels. I thought the panels were great.
You know, we just had the writers panel from the ARC last week, and it was magical.
I'll watch it. I'll have to watch
It was we had 5 of the writers. I mean,
was Glassner on it?
yes.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's great.
And, so
and another shout out to James for coordinating.
Yeah, James coordinated it for us, and we were so happy that he took that off my plate because I was dealing with other things at the time.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I mean, my God, I love the ARC. I think the writing is so great, and our actors, I just love it.
Yeah, it definitely deserves a season 3 based on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, season 2.
I totally agree.
Amazing.
We will figure it out.
We will. I mean, I already promised. I think at the last, right as the season ended at the end, I posted a picture and I kind of mentioned SYFY. I said, all these warm cookies are yours if you renew, you know, that kind of thing. Trying to bribe them. And I don't know if they take that into account, but I'm trying to do whatever I can to bribe them. So.
All right.
Yeah, let's see. Marcia asked, relaxation is so important. What are some of the things you do?
You're so cute, Marcia. I hate yoga. I don't meditate. I don't know how to meditate. I don't do sports. I like things that smell nice, aromatherapy, but I don't do it actively. I cook. I love cooking. So like on the weekends, that's my thing. I'll look at my recipe books and make a big something or other. And I think that's my relaxation. But I know like all this kind of stuff you're supposed to do, but
Everybody's different. I mean, everybody's different. So,
I know.
there's no wrong answer.
I know.
So Tiana Apcheva is known for her lasagna. What are you known for?
My jambalaya, which I perfected when we were in New Orleans on Geostorm. So when we were shooting down there, I stayed in this lovely apartment in the Garden District. And I don't know how familiar everyone is with New Orleans, but like Donald Link has a whole bunch of amazing restaurants, Pesh and Kushan, and he's like my favorite. Has all the cookbooks, and he's a restaurateur. He's like one of those celebrity chefs. And I got his cookbooks, and his cookbook is so good. And that's like, I did his recipe kind of over and over, tweaked it, and I make it. And if I do say so myself, it's pretty darn good.
Good. That's all. I'm getting hungry.
Well, yeah, that is no fair. That is no fair at all. What has been, I think you've said it, but just some people that may have missed it. What do you believe was the most stressful time so far at Electric? You kind of said when you were doing 3 productions at the same time. Was that pretty much it, or was there something that topped that?
I would say 2020, COVID, Leverage Redemption, season 1 during COVID definitely is on that list. And then it was, I guess, 2022 when we had 3 shows going at the same time was also absolutely up there. And that's another funny thing about me. I don't know if it's just me. I can't even tell you. I forget what year it is. If you tell me, oh, what year were you shooting, whatever, I'm like, I don't know. The only thing I can pinpoint is Patriot, because it was 1999 switching over. It was the whole millennial bug freak out to going to 2000. So I remember distinctly being on the Patriot set for that. But if you say to me, oh, what year was it when you shot Flyboys? I don't remember.
Yeah, that's too much.
I've got too much other stuff going on up here. I can't remember. So there's probably other stuff, but I really think those 2. But it's like the 3 shows at once was a good problem to have, right? I'm not complaining.
Well, yeah,
that's we're very lucky, and we should be so lucky to have that again. But it's hard. We're not a huge company.
No. And let's see. Cornelia says, I draw to relax and drew one of the cast and Dean.
Oh, cool.
Very nice.
That's
I don't know which show it was, but I'm not sure. But
I've probably seen it. I've probably seen those pictures.
Yeah. And then this was from Julia. What was the last film or TV show that left a lasting impression on you?
I'll tell you right now, top of my head, because I keep talking about it. Disclaimer on Apple Plus. If you guys haven't seen it, limited series, Cate Blanchett, amazing. And of course, Substance. We've all been talking about Substance in the office. Talk about a lasting impression. Those are the 2 that pop in my mind. If we start talking about reality TV, I could go on forever.
Oh, that'll be a different show, Rachel.
Yeah, that would be. Oh God, I should start my own podcast.
Yeah.
You're
welcome to have one on our network, but I know you've got all the resources there. You can put it on your own.
I already have a name for it. Rachel's Roundtable.
Oh, I love it. Can I take that? Is that okay?
Yes, that's yours.
Okay.
So you mentioned the Patriot so much, and this is back in the day when it was Centropolis, and there was a bunch of us holics hanging out. That Dean arranged a set visit. Were you there?
When you say Dean arranged it, that means I arranged it.
You arranged it, yeah.
Probably taking care of you.
Yes. Well, I wasn't able to go, unfortunately, but a bunch of the people were able to go. Were you there?
Yes, I was there the whole time, and I'm sure I'm the one who got the people
Put it all
there and all
together.
that other stuff. Yes, that's so funny. But like those are the kinds of things, again, that random things that pop on your day-to-day job list, right? Like no day here, I think for any of us is ever exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
That has got to be one of the biggest regrets that I had was I was not able to attend, and I wanted to because I'd never been to a film set. And plus, I never got to meet Dean. Now I finally met him virtually, but not back then. And then I had never saw you, but I've heard of you so many times that when we were talking on the board, all the message boards that we would do.
Yeah.
We were always talking, Rachel and Rachel and Rachel. And it's like, who's this mystery lady that we never see?
I've been around for a long time. I know where all the bodies are buried.
Well, you and James should get together because we were talking about his little manuscript that he has that he writes almost everything down that almost looks like an alibi for everything. So he said if he ever gets caught, he said, or if he was an investigator, he would say that he would be the guy because of all that note. You guys should get together. Yes.
Oh yeah. Our James, right? Yes.
Yeah, our James DeLorean. Yeah,
DeLorean.
He's in the building.
Yes. He's a great guy.
James.
He's a great guy.
So funny.
Do you have a say? I know that Jonathan, and I'm just going to say for an example, the Ark. Jonathan and Dean were the guns that basically created. But do you also have a say sometimes on some of the shows that get produced and eventually go on air?
We have development meetings with a whole bunch of people in our company. We all talk about everything. The bottom line is if Dean likes something and if it's what Dean wants to do, that's what we're going to do. But we absolutely can pitch ideas. All of us are kind of approached with writers and script ideas, and like you try to read everything that comes in, but it's hard. And like if you like something, you present it at the development meeting or you get it to our head of development, Ben Kim, and kind of like sometimes it's better to kind of mull it over before it goes up to Dean, because then you kind of say, then you're like, well, how would this is an expensive show. Like what you might like read something and be like, oh my God, I love this. I want us to do this. I got to talk to Dean about this. But then it's like, you've got to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to do this? And that's an expensive show. And would we be able to shoot that in Serbia and XYZ, all that stuff. So like when you say, do I have a say? Like, yes, we all have a say. We all, and Dean is very collaborative and likes to hear ideas and all that. When it comes to the individual shows that like we're already producing, we all read the scripts. And if I have notes, I'll email them to Dean and he might agree with them and he might not, Mm-hmm. And so, and then sometimes I'm just too busy.
No, I get it. But I just wanted to know if not just you, but just anybody in general. Yeah, you have the ability to do that. And that, because in the end, it's trying to just serve the story or serve the show or the fans.
And create more shows, right? Like we love our shows. We want to keep making even, more shows, new shows.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And great ideas come from anywhere, right?
Right.
So
that's true. Michael?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know, if you are watching us, we would appreciate a like, subscribe, follow on our social media. And if you haven't seen since we've been doing a lot from the Ark, if you haven't seen them, go back and look at them. Some of them are hysterically funny. I was trying to be very mysterious at ElectricCon, and because Reese, we did some funny things with Reese, and I didn't want to say anything at ElectricCon, and Reese wouldn't let me get away with not saying what it was. I got so mad at him.
Yeah.
But anyway,
which leads me to this question.
That's why I brought that up, because we are going to ask Rachel that question too. I know she is. She didn't say it, but I know she's kind of a fan of the Ark a little bit. Just, a little
Oh, so are you going to test me? Oh, no.
Well,
no
worse
test.
Than
No
that.
test.
Worse than that.
Oh, it's going to be.
Oh, no.
It's worse than a test. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, so all the stuff you thought you went through that was tough has nothing compared to what I'm
Nope.
about to ask.
Nope.
That's the walk in the park. So
It
here
was
we
gonna
go, Rachel.
almost kill me.
Yes, we're going to kill you at the hour mark here.
Oh, that's a funny way to put it.
Yeah. So, Rachel, if
Uh-huh.
Jonathan, Dean, or you were presented with an arc, what number, letter, or symbol would you like to have next to it? Like you have arc 1 behind you. Would you
Yeah.
like to have something? What would you like to have behind that number or letter or symbol?
Reese
So
had
like kind of like if
Oh,
or
and I'll
like
give you
it-
examples. I'll give you
it's
examples.
like
Reese is a McDonald's.
representative of me or
Mhm.
Yeah.
God, that's
But he gives
I guess
him a
it's-
sample, so it's like,
a
as I said,
smiley face.
I'm sorry.
A
Smiley
smiley face.
A smiley face. Okay.
A smiley face emoji.
Okay. I was gonna put 9 yards because you do everything in 9 yards.
Oh yeah, or a hat. I guess I could put a little hat.
Your hat.
Wearing so many.
But I like
hats.
your emoji because it does
I
match
think
your
smiley
personality.
face. Let's keep it simple and yeah. I mean, I hope so. Look at, I'm not a look at. I could lose my shit like the next guy, but hopefully not so often. I can get a little intense, but hopefully not to the point where, I can't
It's
come back
okay.
for
I
murder.
mean, we're allowed to
Yeah.
to react and and go from there. We're not robots. We're human. And that is actually it's
For
just
now.
well,
now.
that's true. For now, it's just interesting to get the answers from different people based on their perspectives.
Yeah.
That's why we asked the question. Because,
Yeah.
we get different. So the only one left, forgot Jonathan. He said the arc. The little Earth symbol from Stargate.
from Stargate.
That was awesome.
Nice.
So we have Arc 42 from Pavle and Derek and so forth. So, it's always cool to hear what someone's thinking. And I think based on all the hell that you've basically informed us about, it's interesting that you would say a smiley face. That's awesome.
That is kind of interesting. That shows you how crazy I am. But that is so funny. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, let me just do the last little few comments, and then we're going to call this
Okay.
podcast it. But okay, Cornelia says, "I just want to say thank you for the many shows like Leverage and Almost Paradise. The series saved me. Danke for you. For this."
Bitte, Cornelia.
Awesome.
And then Marcia says, "Your kindness, humor, and light are wonderful. This has been so much fun.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you
Marcia.
for today and always."
Thanks, Marcia.
And Rachel, I would just like to echo that. I mean, I have been in communication with you for I think over a year now.
Oh yeah.
And it was so nice to finally meet you in person at ElectricCon.
You may actually. I was so glad that you asked that question because I was nervous up there. I
knew you were nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the fact that I knew you, that kind of broke the ice. So that was a good moment. So I appreciate that.
Well, I was glad to do it because I remember. See, I thought that was your first convention. See, so I really understood it because I remember my first convention as someone that was a guest or running certain things, and it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
it's nerve-wracking. So
crazy.
I totally get it. But I'm glad you got through it. I'm glad I got through it. I'm glad, I was a lot upset a couple of times when certain people would say CaneCon. I said, this is not CaneCon. This is, but I understand all that.
Yeah. I know. It was the joke.
I learned, but it was like, I understand, but he does have a lot of fans.
Yeah. He is in a lot of our shows.
Yes,
most of them.
That's true.
Yes, he is.
Not the Ark. I just
Not
don't
the
find
Ark.
that.
Not the Ark. Well, before we leave, I do see one comment, and I want to make sure it's basically mentioned for those of us that want an Arc season 3. And Rachel said make a lot of buzz on social media. Linda Bonebreak is saying feedback at syfy.com is another good way to go ahead and provide some feedback and let them know that we want a season 3 and more. So feel free to promote on your social media. Feel free to post on IMDb. Feel free to message, SYFY and let them know that we definitely are looking forward to a season 3 and more.
Yes. Yeah. Don't stop at 3.
Yeah, I want more. I want
season
30.
We've already talked about seasons on this show. Season 6 of the arc and 1 or 2 feature-length movies.
Yes,
Okay.
At least.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we just want to add more to your work. Yeah,
that's fine. Hey, it beats the alternative. Not working.
Yeah, not
Yes,
working.
it does.
Exactly. Now, on behalf of all of us at NDB Media and Talented Universe, we'd like to thank you, Rachel, for being here. And
my pleasure.
Please, I'm working on a few more guests that have had scheduling issues too. Dr. Marsh, we're hoping to get on very soon.
Oh, cool.
And so, and then we're going to get some of our people that were killed off in season 1 and have moved. We had them on before, but they moved on to other projects, and we're going to be talking to them about the projects that they have done since being on the arc. And so we're excited about that. So if you're in one of the fan groups, we will be posting them in that. Or as I said, just go to ndbmedia.net and you can see things that are coming up. We do have lots of wild things coming up. So everyone, thank you for coming. And we will see you on hopefully season 3 of the arc, season 3 of Almost Paradise. I'm losing Leverage Redemption.
Leverage Redemption will season 3 will premiere next year. And season 1 of Librarians, the next chapter, will also premiere next year. So there's a lot coming. Yes.
And more, and hopefully even more.
Yes.
So Rachel keeps busy.
The RAM in your head is incredible. The RAM in your head is incredible.
It's crazy. Except I can't remember years.
Yeah.
It's probably best not to.
Yeah.
It all just feels like one just constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. We really
appreciate it. It really was a pleasure, and sorry it took so long, Michael.
That's okay. Stay with us a few minutes after we close up. But everyone, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.